is Sabrina. Today I'm here with the top 21 books I want to read in 2021. I was originally going to make a top 10 and then I realized there were too many books I'm super excited to get through, so I made a list of 21 books because I thought that felt appropriate. But basically what this is all of my physically owned TBR. These are the 21 books I'm just really hope to get through in the year of 2021. And also I wanna try and read like 2 books each month, which, you know, leaves me with 1 month in which I can read only 1 book. But for the main part, I'm gonna try and read 2 books of this list each month, just so I make sure I'll get through the list. But like if I read like some months I can read like nothing, and then other months I like all my books could be from this list. I don't know, we'll see, but that's kind of like my intention at the beginning of the month. Also, I decided this after I already finished filming my January TBR, so you know, inaccuracies. This list is also just in no particular order. I just like looked at my shelves and like wrote things down rather than just making a list like based on excitement, because I feel like excitement levels will change throughout the year. So yeah, I have 21 books and let's just talk about them. The first book I have on the list is Talon by Julie Kagawa, which if you've been around shouldn't like shock you too much. So I became obsessed with the Iron Face series by Julie Kagawa in 2020, and therefore I wanted to read more of her works, and I already own Talon. I bought this like alongside the first Iron Face book, so I've owned this for a very long time. It's one of the oldest books in my TBR, and now that I know I love Julie Kagawa, I should get to this. I have no excuses anymore. So yeah, I hopefully will be able to get to like, the entire series this year, but because I only own the first book, only the first book is on this TBR. Well, the 2 characters who are dragons and were sent into the human world as the end of like their training to, I don't know what exactly the goal, but they end up like befriending a whole lot of people, and one of the people they befriend is actually a dragon hunter. So chaos will ensue, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm really excited to get to this book. Next up, we have A Darker Shade of Magic by V. Schwab. This has also been on my TBR for a while, and I've been meaning to read this for a while, but recently I got new excitement for it because I read Universe of Wishes, which is a anthology, and V. Schwab had a storyline that related to this series, and I really liked that story, but I also felt a little bit disappointed because of course I hadn't read the book yet, but like from what I could grasp, I quite enjoyed it. So I'm really excited to get to this book, read it, and hopefully get through the entire trilogy, but like, of course, no promises. And like V. Schwab of Victoria Schwab is an author I've heard like a lot of raving things about, but I just haven't read a book from, so it's about time to do so in 2021. Next up is another author I've heard a lot of great things about, but just haven't read anything from, and that's The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. I've even tried and started this book before, but it's a very complex adult fantasy, and I just wasn't in the right mindset to like get into this at the time, so I put it down and never revisit it again. But 2021 is gonna be the year, I promise you. Like honestly, I've been putting this off for so long and I don't want to anymore. I want to enjoy this book just like everyone else, because I've never heard a single bad review for this book, so it needs to happen. That's all I'm saying. The next book on my TBR is The Merciful Crow by Margaret Owen. I kind of bought this on a whim. Like the Dutch publisher for this, they kept, at the time of its release, was like very like pushing it and like talking about it a lot, so I got very interested in it, but I don't know any booktuber who has read this besides Becca in the books, but I don't remember her reading it. But she talked about the sequel, how she wanted to read it in a video recently, so that's how I know that she read it now. But yeah, I think the reason why I haven't picked this up yet is because I just haven't really heard about it a lot on the internet, because that's usually what motivates me to pick up books. But I'm still like super interested in reading this book, so I put it on the list for 2021. And the next book is God's Grave by Jay Kristoff. Just like the 5th season, this is one I like started ages ago. Like you can tell I annotated this already a bit, but again, this is one where just at the time, like I just wasn't in the mindset for an adult fantasy. And even though like the story isn't so complex, or Jay Kristoff writing in the series is something you just like have to get used to, and like once like you're in the book, like it's fine. Like it's an easy flow, but just like getting into the book is a little bit more work, because like the writing is so flowery and metaphor like, and it's a lot to get into, and I just wasn't in the right mindset, and I just haven't picked it up since, and I hate that because I love Nevernight, and I need to just get done with the series. Then another one I started but like put down is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I've also started this. I think I got like a chapter in. Yes, the bookmark is literally still in here, but ooh, let's not keep that sticking out. But I get this one. I started and I just wasn't in the mood for, like, I'm not necessarily not in the mood, but just like my brain capacity wasn't at a place where I could read adult fantasy, because it does take more brain capacity than some other books do, for me at least. So I haven't read this yet, but I so desperately want to, because it's like something that's like right up my alley, and like a lot of booktubers I follow absolutely love this book. There are also some that like kind of felt mad about it, but like a lot of people like adore this, and I love Leigh Bardugo's writing, so I just can't wait to get into this book. And these next two books I'm going to talk about in tangent, and that's King Cage and Warstorm by Victoria Aveyard. I found my nest on December 26th, so I'm currently still in the middle of my Glass Sword reread, but hopefully by the time it's January I finish that. So these two books are very high priority on my TBR. We have the third and fourth book in the Red Quill series. The Red Quill series follows Mary Barrow, who is a wet, and in this world you have wets and silvers have powers and like the elite of the world, and then the wets are the servants and are powerless. And one day Mary gets a job to like serve at the palace doing like this big event, and stuff ends up happening, and she ends up revealing her powers, which she didn't know she had before this. But you know, it's possible for wets to have powers, so the royal family take her in, pretend that she was a silver adopted by wets, and she is now also engaged to one of the princes. And yeah, shit happens. I'm really liking the second book so far upon my reread, and I'm really excited to get into these two books. And yeah, finally finish this series, because Red Queen is one of the first books I read when I joined BookTube, which is years ago. That was in middle school. So I need to get to these books. The next book on my TBR is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. You can see it, I'm too far away. But this is, Brandon Sanderson is just like an author I've just been meaning to get into for a very long time. Very popular amongst adult fantasy, and I've heard that his writing is like pretty easy to read, so that's fun, but the size of this book still intimidates me. And I've just heard that Mistborn is just like the best way to get into his novels, because it, especially if you're like used to YA books, because it's a very like good bridge between the two. So I don't have an excuse as to why I haven't read this, but I haven't read this. 2021 is going to be the year I finally read Brandon Sanderson. Okay, for this section I'm getting into like books that I bought more recently, but like still I'm super excited for. The first one being The Vanishing Health by Brit Bennett. Again, this is one that I've heard nothing but just like raving reviews for, and I just can't believe I haven't read it yet, even though I've only owned it for like 2 months, which, you know, compared to some of these other books, is a very short lifespan. But this book follows twins that are mixed race and are pretty white passing, but something happens in their lives and like they split up, and one of the twins goes through her life as a white woman, and one goes through her life as a black woman, and they have very different experiences, and they don't like meet up. And we follow the two of them, and then we also follow their daughters who are reconnecting again. So I'm so excited to read this book, which if you've been watching like my last couple of videos, you know this, because I've talked about this in a couple of videos. But I need to get it read. I'm not letting this sit on my TBR for over a year. Just no way, because I'm too excited for it. On the same note as that, we also have Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid. This follows a black woman who is a nanny to this white family, and one day she goes out with the child she's nannying, and she gets like the cops calling her, like security calling her, I'm not entirely sure, because people think that she kidnapped the child. And we follow her, and we also follow the mom of this kid, who is a blogger, I believe, and it's a lot about like performative activism. And this is another book that I've heard nothing but like amazing things on, and I just don't want to let it sit on my TBR for more than a year. Then I don't know if you've noticed the trends throughout this, but I've been really getting into adult fantasy. Adult in general, there's quite a lot of adult on here, as well as YA, but adult fantasy especially is something that like I finally gotten over like my hurdle of like being scared of. So going full force with Robin Hobb. Assassin's Apprentice is what I got for my birthday, and Robin Hobb is an author I've been meaning to read for like a super long time. Just as Brandon Sanderson. Like these, I think I pointed to the right book, did I? Yes. Brandon Sanderson and Robin Hobb are like two authors that even before I really got like an adult fantasy seal of like part of BookTube, like those authors I've heard about a lot. I've just been meaning to read for a very long time. And I need to make it happen. And then another book I got for my birthday is City of Brides by S.A. Chakraborty. This is, when this originally came out, I did hear quite a few things about it, but not a whole lot. But then recently, I've just been hearing so many great things about this series, so I just really want to get to it. And again, this is not one I want to keep on my TBR for over a year, because it sounds great and also very different from like the typical fantasy that I read, because it's not Western inspired, I believe. So that's always great to have in the mix. Well, next up, I'm kind of cheating a bit because I'm planning to make this like my first read of January, but I'm not entirely sure that will happen. So it's still on the list, and it's Video Silence by Alice Oseman. I'm definitely not going to talk about this for long because I've talked about this book in a lot of videos. I just desperately want to get to this Alice Oseman. It's just an author I've slowly been getting into. This is like her most popular book, so of course I need to read it, and I'm super excited to do so. So we're making it happen in 2021. Next up, I have two non-fictions that I really want to get to, because even though I have been like decently reading non-fiction, I've also been bad at reading the non-fiction that's already on my TBR, and just kind of like getting little fiction from like library or from script. But I also have had these two books on my TBR for a while, and one is a sequel. I don't know, they're kind of both companions to books that I've already read and loved, so I have no excuse to not read this. First one is Heroes by Stephen Fry. This is like more, I mean, it's not a sequel, but like this is technically a series. This is about Greek heroes from Greek mythology, and I really loved his book Mythos, which is another book about Greek mythology. And he has another book out about like the Trojan War and like the mythology around that, the stories around that. And I really wanted to buy it, but I also was like, wait, you first gotta read Heroes, because this has been on your TBR for a while, and I still haven't read this yet. Then another one I have is Homodeus by Yuval Noah Harari. This is, I call it a companion because I feel like it kind of like belongs together, but also like not really. They're all standalones. But I read Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari a while ago, and I also really loved that book. So I have no excuse to not read this book. And then lastly, I have some classics, because classics intimidate me, and they shouldn't, because honestly I've read a couple of classics, and even though I don't always love them, I do always find it easier to read than how I have it in my mind. Because again, just like what I said with like God's Grave by Jake Christoph, it's like something that in the beginning is kind of a hurdle you need to get over, but once you're used to it, like it's so easy. Not necessarily so easy, but it's like, I don't know, it comes from itself, it just flows well. And I don't know why I'm doing this to myself. I just like haven't picked up these books yet, because these are classics I've just been super excited for a while, and I need to get to them, and I've looked at them a billion of times, like I want to read that book. So I'm making that my goal for 2021 to read these, and then hopefully be able to get more into classics as a regular thing, because it is a good thing to read them, you know? So the first one I have is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I think I've even like tried to read this once, but I don't think I got very far because I don't remember anything. But I just really want to read this book. Like every time I hear someone talk about like Frankenstein, which happens a lot more often than with some of the other classics, I'm just like, I want to read you so badly. And it's such an important piece of literature as well, because it kind of like started the sci-fi genre. It's written by a woman, so of course amazing, but I need to get over my fear of classics and read this. That's what it is. I'm not gonna put this up top, I'm scared it's gonna fall. Next up I have 1984 by George Orwell. This is another thing that I find super interesting, is how people from the past looked at like what the future was gonna be like, and how like comparing it to what it's like. It's something I really liked in Back to the Future. This second one, it begins with like them actually going to the future, like the title says, and it was just so interesting to like now be in a time period where that has passed, and just like seeing like how accurate they were, and like that's something I'm interested in. And then also I read Animal Farm by George Orwell this past year. I just loved it, so I don't know why I haven't read this yet, because I definitely need to. They'll have 2 books from the same author. I have Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, which is a book I've just been feeling to read for years. Just haven't got around to, and I have no excuse for. I think what's gonna motivate me to read this is I've been in the mood to kind of rewatch the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, and I'm gonna promise myself that if I finish those books, I'll be able to watch that. So that might motivate me because I really love the Lizzie Bennet Diaries. But yeah, I should have read this like a billion years ago. I have no excuses. Then next up I have Emma by Jane Austen. I know what this is intimidating me, it's the size. But I also, Murphy Napier made it, like, finished all of Jane Austen's work this year, and she made like a video recommending them all, and what she said about Emma just like really intrigued me, so I just want to get to this. Also, Clueless is based on this, and Clueless is amazing, so why haven't I read this yet? But 2021, the motive of today, and then last but not least, the 21st book on this list is The Hobbit by J.R. Tolkien. I read the first Lord of the Rings book last year, and I did quite enjoy it, but it was like very difficult to get into, and I am planning to finish the trilogy but like reread the first book again now that I have more of an understanding of what the story is. I think I'll enjoy it more, but I want to read The Hobbit first. 2021, please don't let me down like 2020 has. That's, woo, I like hurts. That's all the books at the top of my TBR for 2021. Like I said, I would love to get through all of these books before the end of the year, but like knowing me, it probably won't happen, but I will try. I will try so hard. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these books, what you thought of them, so I know which ones to prioritize, as well as some of the books you are planning to read in 2021. And I guess I'll see you guys next time. Good.
Here I am again, the same old situation. Why does the God thing have to be so complicated? Should